Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Today, we are speaking with Brigitte Bojkowszky. Brigitte is the owner of BridgitBrands and is a former corporate and academic turned lifetime branding entrepreneur. She illuminates brilliance by guiding ambitious and courageous subject matter experts on their journey to become the shining go-to brand. Brigitte, welcome to the show.
Hi, Enrique. Thank you so much for having me.
It's amazing to have you. I know we've planned this for a while, and I'm happy to have you today. Folks, we are going to be speaking about branding for leaders. Now, you may have not heard this specific topic, and that's why I have Brigitte here to discuss it with us. But before we get into that, Brigitte, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, Enrique, you already said it so nicely. I have a very unconventional journey or way that I have gone so far. I was a flight attendant very early in my life, and I flew for about 5 years, mostly long hauls. So that's where I got to know the world. I got to see the world. I could dive into different mentalities. I got an understanding of how people think and why people do things. And so I really could immerse with this global culture and find my way through all the different challenges in different countries all around the world. So it was really a great experience. Also, you know, staying there for a layover of 10 days or 14 days or a week on an island in the Caribbean or in the Pacific or in Australia or in Bangkok or in Hong Kong, or, you know, there's so many places to see. And it was really a great experience for me as a young person to get to know the world, doing something like that, serving people and making them feel comfortable and welcome on board. I really enjoyed it. But there was also a time I thought, can I do this for the rest of my life? And actually, the airline I flew with, we had a year and an age where the contract terminates. So it was 36. So I was like, okay, what am I doing after that? And I was really concerned about my future. And then after a few years, I figured I need some more brain food. You know, I needed to, do more than I would say flying from A to B and to C and back to A and serving people in that way. And I knew there is another way of serving people as well. So I quit flying because at that time there were no possibilities to fly and study at the same time. Now there is a different world. But at that time it was not the case. And I chose to become a student. And I studied international marketing and management and business education because I knew I have kind of a global focus. I was always interested in brands coming from different parts of the world, and but also teaching people, educating people. I love to help people doing this and that and just give them the understanding of how things work in a particular field, in a particular area. And so I combined both of the studies and did my master. And then I went out to the world. I worked for different corporations. And then I got the opportunity to apply for a teaching and research assistant at the university here, at the business university here in Austria. And I was chosen. So I went for my PhD in international marketing and management and studied. Then I also worked at different universities around the world, teaching global marketing management, branding strategies, global consumer behavior, and market research, and everything, you know, pretty much everything I covered in that field of global marketing management and branding. But my focus was always going back to the industry. I was coming from the private sector, and I wanted to go back to the private sector. I wanted to bring together the academic field with the private sector field, with, teaching in a classroom with experience in the private sector is different than just going to school, graduating, and staying in the academia. So there's a huge part missing. So I brought both parts together. I still teach as a sideline at universities, but my main focus is on my business right now. And that's BridgitBrands. It's a small branding boutique that helps mostly entrepreneurs transitioning into a successful business owner from wherever they come, whether they are corporate, whether they are coming from the academia. So helping them establish themselves as a strong, authentic, unique, likable brand in the market, a meaningful brand in the market, most of all, I think. Nowadays, the focus is very much on purpose-driven, impact-driven. There has to be a higher meaning, as a meaning that goes beyond just making profits. And that's what I help with. I also go into organizations and do workshops for teams, for organizations as a whole, because the most important thing for every organization, whether small or big, is that you align goals, vision, mission, and the values of each individual, of each leader as an individual with the vision and mission of the organization. So there's a unification of values, vision, and mission when it comes to being successful in a market as a strong brand. So there needs to be an alignment of all of it. Yeah, in a nutshell.
I love that global perspective that you bring to branding. It's something that is seldom really addressed, and developing the leader within was originally formulated to address global leadership. So I love that we both have met and we've shared on your podcast, but today we speak about, and you mentioned this, the leader, right? The leader, the individual, they are branding on both aspects. What is branding for leaders, and is it different than personal branding?
So first of all, we need to think about what is a brand. Everyone nowadays needs a brand. It's not an option anymore if you want to compete long-term in a marketplace. So it's all about a brand. And a brand is something that makes your customer feel about you. So a strong brand is if a customer has strong positive feelings about you. It's not just about what they think about you, what they talk about you. It's about what kind of feeling do they have when it comes to you as a brand. How do they experience you? What is their relationship? It's about a unique relationship that you as a brand have with your customer or with your potential customer. So it's really about the feeling that counts here. And that is very much underestimated. So this is branding. This is a brand. Then branding is the way of how you serve your customer, how you serve them in your unique and differentiated way compared to everyone else out there. So what is your singular thing in the way of how you really do it? And that's branding. And branding in that sense is the act of shaping the perceptions that others have of you, the perceptions that others have of you, including how they perceive, how they feel about you. So you try to convey or to project a certain identity that you have created in the market, and the marketplace is mirroring that. It's reflecting that, and that is the perception that you have then in the market. So there is the identity, that's what you're sending out, and that creates a certain image that comes from the audience, from the people, the customers that you want to appeal to, and that needs to be aligned. And if you do that correctly, then you have a really good branding. Then your branding becomes strong, because whatever you want to put out to the world is really coming across in the way that you intend it to be. And that is the important thing. And then there is different layers of branding, because everything can be branded. Corporations, products, services, experiences, causes, countries, places, but also people. Yeah? And when it comes to people, it's about personal branding. So the individual. So it's really about how you as a person present yourself to the world. And it's this developing this unique and authentic brand identity that reflects your personality. And a strong personal brand is really who you are at your best. Yeah, every single day, your sweet spot, your secret sauce, it's what you communicate. And that is what is perceived then by others through the relationships, through the experiences others have with you, yeah, and how they feel about you. And branding for leaders is kind of a, let's say, you could say a subset of personal branding, or it's kind of a different layer when it comes to branding. Because branding for leaders, you can either be a leader within an organization, as an employee in the C-suite or on different management levels. But branding for leaders, or for a leader, or a leadership brand, can also be an entrepreneur, because you are basically the leader of your own company. You might have 1 or 2 or 3 employees, but it's mainly leading yourself, but also leading others through how you communicate with the world. And here you could take on a leadership presence in the market. So branding for leaders can have, again, different kinds of meaning, depending on what you're talking about. So this is about creating a compelling and memorable image of yourself as a leader, one that inspires, one that motivates others to follow you. It's about establishing a leadership presence that communicates your vision, your values and strengths, that builds trust, credibility, authenticity, authority, with your, basically with all your stakeholders. And there is more involved than personal branding, because personal branding is very much about the individual itself only. But branding for leaders, or leadership branding, there's a little bit more meaning attached to it, and it becomes more strategic, more intentional, I would say, and has a little different approach to it, because you're bringing together not only you as a person, but the organizational brand or the products that relate to that. So it's kind of a unified set of shared values that you need to incorporate and live by every day.
Branding is a full-time employment in itself. There's so much that you have to think about, especially when you mention things like being strategic. Now, when I endeavored on this podcast, I knew that it would be part of my leadership brand, not part of my personal brand, because I knew that I needed something to be able to speak to the authority I have in leadership, and the science, and also the practice of leadership. And so I love that you broke those down for us to understand that there are different facets in our lives, and all of those have something to say about our branding as a whole. And so I love that you broke those down that way, because it really is a difference.
May I say something else to that? Because even though maybe we talk just it's a huge word though, about personal branding. Now think about how many different roles you as a personal brand are playing every day. And sometimes this integrates or involves also a leadership branding style. So the more you are able to align all the different roles, and usually you align them by some common denominators, and these are your values you live by. So if you can really live true and stick to your values in every single role, then your branding becomes more consistent across these different roles, and be much more powerful when you engage with different kinds of stakeholders associated with that. So yes, yeah, it's huge, and it is not just about a logo and whatever everyone usually thinks about when you ask them what's top of mind when it comes to branding. I do that very often in my workshops and in my online challenges, and the first thing is logo, the second is name, and then colors and all these kind of things. But it really starts much earlier. It starts with your mindset. It starts with, what is my vision in this world? What legacy want to leave behind? What is the mission? What are the values? And where do I maybe limit myself that I might not be able to fully live it? Where do I need to push through? Where do I have to go beyond? And what is my personal brand actually? Who am I? You need to go on a discovery mission first. You need to look inside so that what is inside can be brought to the outside. So it's about really illuminating the brilliance that you have already, so that is being seen and brought to the world. And that's usually something that you're here for, why you're here for, and with what you can serve, and serve differently than everyone else because it's unique to you.
Absolutely. And I remember specifically stating, when people say leadership, I want them to see my face in their head without looking at it on a picture or anything. I wanted my face to be the first person they thought of when the word leadership came into their mind. And so that was the why, that was the goal, right? And a lot of people don't set those goals. They just want to be known, or their company to be known, or and don't even take all these things into account. Now, a lot of the things that we do nowadays in terms of branding is through the platforms that we have in social media. So how do I brand myself on social media as a leader?
Exactly. As you say, social media is key, and social media is really a powerful tool for building and promoting your leadership brand, or promoting you as a leader out there, as the go-to person. As you say, you want to see they want to see your face. You want to be top of mind. That's what every brand wants. They want to be top of mind. When you say, for example, fast food restaurant, top of mind, usually everyone says McDonald's. Yeah, it just sticks, or car brands. But when it comes to personal branding and branding for leaders, they want to have your face. They want to have Enrique there, right? When it comes to where you are the subject matter expert. So branding oneself on social media as a leader requires a deliberate, intentional, and targeted approach. You want to be really targeted to communicate your expertise, your values, and your vision. And that involves creating a consistent and engaging online presence that really reflects you as a leader. What is important here are several things. I want to start with the right platform, because usually people are dispersed all over the place. Yeah? So the right platform is important, because especially at the beginning, we are a one-woman show, a one-man show. We cannot do everything at the same time. The day only has, I'm talking about a day. It doesn't have 24 hours, because you also have to sleep, right? So focus on something that really serves its purpose, or your purpose. So different social media platforms in that sense also serve different purposes, depending on your goals, your target audience. You should focus on social media platforms that are really, really relevant and effective for your brand. So where is your audience and where do you feel comfortable as a brand, yeah, with your values, with your vision, with your mission. And then, yes, you want to, I mean, you also, you want to serve those people that, that resonate with you. So where are those people that resonate with you? So first of all, you need to know who is your ideal client and where they are every day, when they are being busy work-wise or respectively in their private time or searching for something. Then develop a content strategy. So that also reflects your values, your expertise and vision. We always come back to this mindset elements, but it's about it, right? So it's really essential to create a strategy that aligns with your brand identity, with what you want to send out. And where you are the expert in that specific industry. That is also very relevant. And then define also your message to create this consistent, strong brand. So a consistent, strong brand message that you communicate every day. That is of utmost importance. So right platform, right content strategy with the right message. And most of all, engaging with the audience. So it's a two-way street. Yeah? It's not just one direction. It's a two-way communication channel. It's important to engage with your audience, respond to comments, share content, participate in relevant conversation, ask for feedback. And also that helps creating a community. Nowadays, it's all about communities, right? This is, one way of marketing is creating communities where people feel welcome, where people always, especially nowadays, they want to belong to something. And communities is a really great way of how to grow your thought leadership presence in a specific industry, in a specific niche. And then last but not least, we had it already, authenticity. So that is also key because as a leader, you should be transparent about your values, about your personal experiences, and when it comes to authenticity, it's also about transparency is also about vulnerability. Because when you show also your flaws, we are all not perfect, and never strive to be perfect. It consumes too much time anyway, and you cannot connect with people on this visceral level, on the emotional level. You want to speak to people's hearts first, because that's how you connect, and then it makes sense. Talking rationally to people's mind doesn't stick long term. As I said before, people need to feel something about you, and that goes through the heart. So be authentic, be transparent, be vulnerable. Talk about things that did not go well in your life, because there's also most of the learning included. It's where you are usually, that's where your place is. That's what you need to figure out. And you go first, and that's what you teach others who follow you. That's how you connect. So I think those factors, the right platform, the right content, the right message, engaging with the audience, and then also be authentic, are most important when you are brand yourself on social media as a leader.
Powerful tips. Thank you for sharing that, and all true. If there's anything that you want to do on social media, is follow exactly these tips that Brigitte just shared, because there are ways of doing social media wrong. And sometimes we think it's the best thing because it's what we want to do, but there are even strategies in social media that will allow you to make the best stride and effort in making sure that your brand is well represented. Now, there's so many social media platforms available to us. You can go from one extreme to the other, video, non-video, audio, and all the likes. So, in your opinion, what is the best social platform to brand as a leader?
Okay, as you have already mentioned, there are several out there, from LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok nowadays. It really depends on where you want to claim leadership. LinkedIn is actually an ideal platform for professional networking and building thought leadership. It's where we met. And I love LinkedIn. It's also my preferred social media platform. So it's really where I am busy, where I'm really focusing and putting all my effort into it. It's widely regarded as the go-to platform for professional branding and also networking. You can establish and build and promote your leadership brand here in that professional context. You can show your skills, your experiences, your achievements. You share all of that. You connect with other professionals in your field. That's a beautiful platform for business and career-oriented individuals. To my experience, it's mostly for entrepreneurs, but it's also for the C-suite, for managers to connect with each other. It's also a hiring platform. I think a lot of job search goes through LinkedIn, and they also, they do a fantastic job when it comes to research. So in that way, you also get a lot of information from LinkedIn. It's constantly evolving like other platforms. The beauty of it, it's really a business platform. You share personal elements. We talk about that a little bit later, I think, when it comes to, how much of my private person should I actually share? So it's something that it has room for that, but only to a certain extent. It's not Facebook and it's not Instagram. Yeah, and then there's Twitter and Instagram, and I think Twitter is also a platform where you can present yourself as a thought leader, especially when it comes to participating in public conversations, when it comes to politics, media, and entertainment. Yeah, it's a microblogging platform. It's real time, it's fast paced, and ideal for sharing your unique perspective on current events and trends in your industry. And then there's Instagram. It's very much a visual platform. It's all about sharing videos. It's sharing your creative side of doing things, I would say. It's ideal for leaders who want to showcase their personality, yes, by photos, by reels that align with their personal brand, but also to a certain extent, your leadership brand. Yeah. And it's usually, I think it's more so used in the fashion industry, in the beauty industry, and in the lifestyle sector, especially when it comes to cooking, I think.
Cooking, one of my passions, actually. So I do agree that I see a lot of that, and subscribe to any channel that actually endorses that endeavor in our personal development. We went earlier, we mentioned personal brands, then we followed on to speaking about the professional brands. And I wanted to ask you, what are the advantage of integrating my personal and professional brands, and where can that go astray?
Yeah, that is tricky. It really is. That's why whatever you do, you should be thoughtful about what you're doing and not just doing it. There needs to be a certain strategy behind as well. And that's why this self-reflection, personal reflection, who am I and who am I in the context of the organization I am working for and with, and the people in my team. So this is critical. But integrating both of those, personal and professional brand, can lead to a stronger brand identity overall. And the first thing, what I would love to mention is it can help you to come across as more authentic and genuine to your audience. As I mentioned before, you're playing these different roles. And if you are aligning to your personal values and in the context of the organization, to the organizational values, if there's alignment, if this is all in sync, then you come across more authentic because it's always you. Doesn't matter where you are. It's always you at home, because we have had a talk, the personal brand you bring home, right? But also your professional brand. When you cannot just strip off your personal brand when you walk into the corporation. It's always part of you, right? So you come across more authentic by integrating. And second, when people see that you have a consistent brand across platforms, across roles, it also helps build trust in the people and credibility with your audience. And that enhances your authority and influence in the space where you are, in your industry, in the organization, across and towards all your stakeholders. And there's actually interesting research that was done, if I may, so I would love to mention some numbers here. So actually consumers expect personal branding from companies, especially from leaders. 82% of people, of customers, said they are more likely to trust the company when its senior executive, respectively its leaders, are active on social media and share a post. And 77% of consumers are more likely to buy when the CEO, the leader of a business, uses social media. So consumers they demand this input from company leadership. Think about personal brands, leadership brands like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and also Steve Jobs at that time. So this is really something that is important. So tweets from executives at companies really go further than if just the company is tweeting something. Yeah, it's more authority. They trust it more because it's a person. Yeah, it's always about the people. It's the humanity behind the corporations, behind the organizations, the companies that make companies thrive and gives them a brand. It's the people behind it. Yeah, so and that's why there's this trend humanizing brands. It's more trustworthy. It offers more credibility. It's about people like you and me. So they want to follow people. And then it's also about, and that has something to do with being across different platforms. With integrating both your personal and your professional brand, you increase your visibility and your versatility. So it's across a range of more topics, more industries, and hereby you also attract more opportunities and partnerships as well. Yeah. So if you are more, it shows more. You have more visibility, more brand awareness, as we say, across different industries and markets, private and personally. The potential risks, with all the advantages, with all the pros, there's also the cons or disadvantages, respectively, the risks included, right? So when you do that, then you might incur some loss of your privacy. So when you blend your personal and professional lives, you may sacrifice some of your privacy, and you have to make sure that you are setting these personal boundaries. You need to know, you need to balance carefully what you share online and what stays within your privacy, within your personal boundaries. Just make sure, think about that. Be thoughtful about it. And yeah, so do not overshare personal information. Yeah, and also if there is any negative activity associated with your personal brand, it can happen. Yeah, that can also impact then your professional brand. So just be careful, be thoughtful about that. And then also, you might be confusing the audience if you are not authentic. If both of these brands, personal and professional, are not integrated properly, it can confuse the audience and then dilutes your brand identity. It might harm your reputation, and not only yours, but the reputation of your company as well, because you're always representing your company. So there also needs to be a talk of you as a leader within the context of an organization when you present yourself on your profile on LinkedIn, because it's always somehow linked then to the company. That needs to be discussed prior to going out there. So what is part of me? What is part of the organization? What do we commonly share? Yes, I think those are the most important things to consider when combining both, and where it can go astray. So be thoughtful about that.
Absolutely. As you were finalizing that comment, I automatically remember a CEO that came out after their company had published a document. He came out with his own personal view, and it tanked the shares of that company immediately. You want to talk about instant impact. When you, as a leader, do not think about your personal and how that it may affect your professional, but more importantly, those two should really complement each other and not be so drastically different that if you spoke on your own behalf that you would destroy your company, because that only shows that you are not aligned with yourself. And how can I trust your company to be aligned? And so this is the factors that come out, especially when toying and experimenting with social media. I love what you said, Brigitte, earlier. Find out about you first. Do some exploration about you and find you before others find you, because they will on social media.
Exactly. That's so true. And building a reputation, a strong, trustworthy reputation and good relationships takes a long time. Diluting your brand can happen in an instant. So we have to be thoughtful, meaningful, respectful with how we are presenting ourselves, how we are treating ourselves and others, and how we just, have relationships with others and how we interact with others. And especially when we speak on behalf of our organization as a thought leader, or
And
as
if
a branded, or as a branded leader, yeah, or a leadership brand,
right,
however you want to call it.
yeah. Now, if a leader needed to know one thing about branding, let's say they just caught this episode right now and they just tuned in now. If they needed to know one thing about branding, what would it be?
Okay, I cannot nail it down to one single thing because it leaves open some other things I need to mention here. It's not a logo, or we have talked about it, right? It's not your visual presence. It's about building meaningful relationships, meaningful, authentic relationships with your audience that is based on trust, relevance, and value. And important is consistency. Your brand should have consistency inherently in it. It evolves with you. And across all the different communication channels, from your website to your social media profile, and through even to your email signature. Don't underestimate that. So that really all needs to be aligned. Then your brand is not just about you. Yeah, it's important to consider your audience and their needs when developing your brand strategy. It's because it's about how you are perceived by others. It's really the sum of others' experience with you and all the interactions, the relationships they have with you as a brand, because it's how you make them feel. And your brand is always evolving. So we are never done. It's something that is a continuous process. That's why consistency is key. Consistency, yes, but there's always a slight modification. It's not really felt or seen like when it's disruptive, right? But because then customers, the audience is confused, but you evolve over time, constantly growing, evolving, and with keeping an eye on the industry trends and how do I fit in? How can I actually lead in that industry with my own stance, with my own perception on things? Yeah, and always get the feedback from your team and from the people around you, because there are sides that you do not see. Those blind spots might be weaknesses, but might be strengths that you haven't thought about yet. So you need to always integrate that and do kind of an evaluation on yourself and on your interaction with other people. It's a constant learning and a constant evolving. Again, authenticity. I mean, we know that's key. And invest in your brand long-term. Your brand is a long-term investment. Yeah, so a strong brand does a lot of different things in an organization, attract top talent. They want to work with someone like you as a person, as a leader. And you're doing contracts with people, especially when we take it on a global level in the Southeast Asian market, when it's about high context, when it's about relationship building, when it's about reading between the lines and doing contracts. If you ever, it's a handshake. It's about the people. Yeah, it's not about this organization or cooperation. It's about the people that manage, that negotiate on these specific terms. So invest in your brand. Go on different, let's say, masterminds. Have accountability partners. Have mentors. Yeah, it's always worth taking time to get it right.
And speaking about investing in your brand, if someone has been listening to this episode, loved what you say, how can they get a hold of you to get them both on their personal and professional, or maybe company brand up to par with the rest of the world, or maybe even better? How would they get a hold of you?
All right, I have a website, BridgitBrands.com, and I think you put it also into the show notes, I guess. And you will find everything there. When you are on social media, what I think, then you find me on LinkedIn. It's my preferred platform. And send me a message there. You find me on YouTube. I also co-authored a book, Significant Women, Leaders Reveal What Matters Most. It's on Amazon. Yeah, so that's where you find me. It's my website and my LinkedIn profile, basically. Yeah.
All right, folks. Now we're going to have that as part of the video and show notes so that you can get a hold of Brigitte. The content that's shared today, specific about becoming a branding megastar, if I was to say, as far as your leadership, and all the tips and guidance and commentary shared today will surely get you where you need to go. If you need some more specifics and want to go all the way, get a hold of Bridget, and we'll make sure that all that information is available. Folks, today's episode is sponsored by Fantail Services and Superpass, which are powering our website and app. Southern Sweet and Sassy Coffee and Harchester, London. If you've enjoyed this episode and learned something interesting about the topic covered today, make sure to subscribe and let us know by leaving a comment right now. We're always looking for new ideas and guests that we can add to our show. So if you know someone or have a topic that you would like featured on the podcast, or even want to sponsor our show, we love to hear about it by emailing us at triadleadershipsolutions@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you.